welcome to Good News Rhode Island, the program about Rhode Island and the people and places and events that make Rhode Island a great place to live, that build our communities and serve our youth. Today we're at School 1, and School 1 is trying very hard to look for new models for education so that every child, no matter how they learn, what method they learn by, is cared for. And today we're here with Jennifer Borman, who's the head of school. Thank you for having us in your office, for letting us interrupt your schedule, which I'm sure is really busy. We're glad to be here, and we're glad to talk about learning and kids.
Welcome.
And you just told me that you hear, and we're in the principal's office, by the way. Even though they're toys, we're in the principal's office. Could you tell me what your school philosophy is, or tell us?
Yeah, I think the philosophy is pretty simple. Some of the pieces that are part of our educational practice are more complicated, but the philosophy is that every person should be treated with respect, should be valued for who they are, should be in a safe place, should be stretched creatively, and should have real opportunities to do meaningful academic work in a small classroom where teachers are available to help. So I think those are some of our core approaches, but how they play out differs depending on whether we're talking about our advising program or our curriculum or our arts program. So,
even though you told me that kids come in here to talk to you, they're not worried, they're not afraid, because you don't have that many discipline problems who come into your office.
That's true. I mean, certainly it's not a perfect world, but for the most part, the kids who are here really want to be here, and they feel a strong sense of ownership of the school.
And if a student comes here with a learning problem, I assume you don't assume their disabilities, but a learning problem a difference in other schools. Mm-hmm. Is that primarily your student body, or is it's just everyone and you take kids?
It's maybe about a quarter of our students, and we are a high school that's definitely focused on getting kids prepared for college. So if somebody has a learning difference that means they're not going to be able to handle, or they're not interested in handling college prep level work, this wouldn't be the best school. But if they have a particular challenge, say real difficulty with organizing and keeping track of their work, or some of the social difficulties that can come with being on the autism spectrum, or if they have a processing issue that makes them need more time or get extra help, then we have a lot of supports in place.
And the advisory system seems to be what students and faculty feel is the core of what you're doing here.
Well, it's a really important piece. So every full-time teacher has a group of advisees, no more than 12, and that advisor is somewhat of an academic advisor, somewhat of a substitute or an extra parent in terms of nagging, also a sort of wise coach as far as thinking about short-term and long-term goals. You know, what's going well, what do I want to try this trimester, this school year, and then how am I making plans that set me up to have a lot of choices after high school. So they wear a lot of different hats, and they all have their own, the advisors all have their own flavor. And kids have a choice of who they want to work with.
Oh, so they don't have to work with someone in their specific
No,
interest.
And then the advisors, when all goes well, we have a really good communication loop between families, advisor, student, and school, so that we're all sort of on the same team trying to best support the student.
If someone calls you and wants to come and they have no funds, what happens then?
Well, diversity of all kinds and economic accessibility are pretty core priorities for us. So I would say financial aid at the moment is about a third of our operating budget, and over 60% of our students receive financial aid. So we make every effort possible to be as accessible to as many families as possible.
As the principal of the school, you oversee all the comings and goings, all the being in the school. What would you say is the spirit of the school, if you were to describe it to someone?
Well, hopefully you'll see a little bit in your travels, but we definitely feel like there's a great spirit of creativity in the building. There's art all over the place, and we have some portion of our students wanting to pursue a career in the arts, and everybody else being encouraged to embrace creativity, even if it's not their sort of professional focus over time. So again, a spirit of playfulness, of creativity, and then I think respect and appreciation for difference. That again, we all try to coexist peacefully and respectfully.
As a principal, you are here and you see all these kids. You see 80 kids a year, is that right?
We're a little bigger right now. We're at almost 95, but we don't go much above 100.
And so you follow them through their careers to dancing or publishing a book or doing a play somewhere. You follow them through and let everyone know what's happening. What are some of the success stories?
Well, there are a lot, and I think we sort of measure students' growth against where they started. So for one student, it's a great success story to be able to participate in a class discussion because they feel such shyness that that's a huge accomplishment. But in terms of just recent, more external accomplishments, we just had 2 of our students' pieces selected for national awards at the National Scholastic Art Awards. So there were 7 entries from Rhode Island, and we had 2 of our students among those 7. So that was a great accomplishment. And the kids' college acceptances are rolling in at this time. So at our all-school meeting this morning, we had lots of students chime in and say, I just got into WPI, I just got into Ursinus, I just got into Wheaton or Bennington. So,
all over the place.
Yep, it's exciting.
Well, thank you so much, Jennifer, for talking with us. Is there any one last thing you want to say about the school that you have been here 8 years and been shepherding?
I would just, we love visitors, so I would encourage anybody, either whether they're an educator and want to see an inspiring different model, or whether they're a prospective parent of a School 1 student, if they want to sort of see us in action, I think that's the best way to learn about us. So give a call if you'd like to come see the school in action. We'd be excited to host anybody.
We're here now in the same office with the assistant headmaster, Carrie Honey. You have been here and helped to steer this school for 28 years. So you know it well, you've helped to develop the curricula probably, you've helped to develop the sense of the school now, which is very much oriented toward equality for every student and searching for every appropriate learning style. It seems to me that it's very commendable. But maybe you could tell us your perspective. That's mine, having just learned about it.
I came here 28 years ago thinking I would stay for 3 years and then go get my PhD and teach college. But I wanted to be a good teacher before I did that. And after 3 years, I just couldn't figure out why I would leave, because one of the great things about this school, and it wasn't true at the previous school at which I taught, is that you can really, we work so intimately with the students that you can really see progress almost every day. So like a day doesn't go by when a teacher wouldn't leave without feeling really good about one or many things that have happened in the classroom.
So class size and some kind of collaborative learning style where the teacher is a learner and the student is a learner, that it's really, really important here, and you emphasize that with small classrooms, and you're able to do it.
Oh, absolutely. I have, in my upper level English class, the students always write before I tell them what I think about anything, and I think that's really good for them because they're learning how to think for themselves, not regurgitate. But it's great for me because sometimes I learn great things.
When you give students a chance, no matter what age they really are perceptive about these complex matters that Shakespeare would handle or whatever.
Right, and I think part of that is how you handle it as a teacher. I think if you're asking students to memorize things and take tests to just say back what they've been given, they don't see, there's no benefit to them in coming up with their own ideas. But when you really stress that that's what you're looking for, I feel like memory when I was in school was somewhat important because at least it was a shortcut to things, but now they all have everything in their pockets. They just pull out that phone and they can pull up anything. So teaching them to memorize, there are some things that it's important to memorize, but all those little facts, that's not what we're hoping they're getting out of our classroom. It's how to think and how to write and how to solve problems.
That they'll use all their life.
Right.
Whereas whatever they memorize, they might not use all their
life.
life.
Right. Things that their cell phones can't do for them.
You have some pretty interesting courses that you're offering in terms of literature.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think one thing that makes it great to be a teacher here, and I think the students would say is exciting for them too, is that in the English department, for example, we have set standards and levels and expectations about what we would do at each level. So a certain amount of essay writing every trimester, which is pretty significant. We review grammar rules on a weekly basis. But within those parameters, the teachers get to basically create their own classes based on what they think the students would enjoy and what their interests are.
Kids come out of here with a sense of themselves, but also a fairly healthy sense of the materials that they will need when they go to college and specialize.
Right. I think in many ways, as funky a school as we are, we probably teach more Shakespeare plays than pretty much any other school. I think we do pretty much half the canon in every 3-year cycle. So there are some students who go through and never have any Shakespeare, but there are some students who go through really knowing 10 or 15 plays of Shakespeare. So we really cover a broad range, and students get more choice than at most other schools. So if a student finds a teacher or an area that he or she really loves, that student could stick with it for longer than a year.
We're still in the principal's office, and now we're talking to Siobhan Ritchie, who's here as a humanities teacher and also Spanish, and Sam Osborne, who teaches many things, it looks like, but mainly humanities. Welcome, both of you. We've been talking about the school, the way School One is different from other schools. It seems to me as teachers, you're the core of the difference because you're also advisors, is that right? So each of you has so many students, 13 students or so to advise, as well as several classes of 8 and 10 students each. So you see a lot of the students and you get to know them well, I assume.
Being advisors as well as teachers helps us be able to collaborate with each other. We know a lot of information about our students, as you mentioned, because we learn about their lives and their struggles, their strengths, and we're able to communicate with each other about the different experiences of our students and how we can better help them to be successful.
So if someone's not learning, clearly just sort of on a plateau and not trying, etc., do you assume that there are issues related with learning, or do you assume there are issues related to the parents or what's happening at home or the school environment? Or
well, it's another nice thing about how well the faculty gets to know the students here is that if I have a student in class and I am struggling to get the student to achieve in the way that we want them to, I can go find any number of other faculty members who have more access to knowledge about the student, that we have a full-time social worker on staff that talks to the kids as much, if not more, than all of us, that I can go to the advisors who have a lot of contact with home and the kids. And then staff meeting is generally predominantly discussions about specific different students and how we work in the classroom and what strategies we found are really successful, what things we've tried that didn't work out, and so that we're all consistently improving how we deal with each student on an individual basis.
And when there's students that aren't agreeing with each other or that having a lot of tensions, which can happen with very diverse student population, how do you deal with that?
It's actually a joy to see how we deal with issues of discipline. Unlike any other school that I have taught in, and I think most of us, the same is true, we have a discipline committee that's made up of students. And if there's an issue and a discipline committee is called, it's amazing to see how maturely our young individuals respond to the situation. So the students who are called to the committee present their case, and it's a little bit like a jury of their peers. And the conversations and the reactions are really great examples of young people rising to the occasion. And as a result, I find that
they take each other's advice, is what you're saying.
Exactly. They listen to each other. They respect each other.
The other thing that's different here that I found from other places that I've been and taught is the culture of the school is very much one of community and acceptance, and that there are issues that come up, as you're bound to get anywhere, but I see them way less frequently than I have at any other place that I've worked. And most of the time, students tend to work things out between each other before it escalates to the point that there needs to be a discipline committee. Really impressed with a lot of them and how they deal with those different situations.
The problem is, how do you know what a student's potential is?
I think as we've discussed, we get to know our students, so teachers and advisors work together to determine if someone is working towards fulfilling that potential or avoiding fulfilling that potential. We have a credit, no credit system, which means that we are able to individualize our curriculum to a great degree. And we learn about the students, what they can do, and we ask them to make progress. So wherever they're starting, it's our job to figure out what the next step is and to make sure that we see them get there.
We do narrative evaluations. So for every student that I have at the end of every term, I write a full page on each one of them and how they've been performing. And I think one of the best evaluations I've ever written was for a student whose English skills were not as strong as a lot of the other students. And were I grading him on a standard metric, probably would have been a C student. But I got to write in the evaluation that every single day after class, the student came and found me and went through everything that happened that the student didn't understand, that there were appointments made after school to go over work, that all of the students' assignments were turned in several days early so that they could get notes and do rewrites before they were actually due. And so this is a kid that you want in your classroom because they're going to take the time and put in the effort to make sure that they succeed in what they're doing. And it was really nice to be able to write that rather than just give this blanket grade that doesn't really say anything about who the kid is or how they work.
If you were to say one thing about teaching here, what would it be?
I would say that we are a creative group of individuals, and we allow that creativity to inform all aspects of our practice.
Just today on the way to school, I was driving in with another teacher who works here, who turned to me and said, you know, I think this is the first job I've ever had where when I get up in the morning, I'm really excited to go there. That there is nothing that I'd rather be doing than coming in and working here.
What else can you say? So if you were to say what is here that might not be in public schools, or what you think really is the secret to this kind of teaching which makes you want to get up in the morning and teach, what would you say?
So one of the differences that I've noticed here versus other places that I've worked, which are limited, but that the administration really trusts us as educators, that they brought us in for a reason, and that we have a lot of freedom in the classroom. We write our curriculum, that there's a lot of feedback so that they can be sure that we are doing the job that we're supposed to be doing, but that we're working on skill development and getting these kids to where they need to be, and they trust that we're going to go in there and do that. And it makes it exciting to come in, and also makes me at least a lot more excited to engage with each kid.
This is Jennifer and Carrie.
Yes.
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 And how about you, Siobhan?
It's interesting that our students have an opportunity to evaluate us as teachers at the end of every trimester, and the information is often really useful and helps us discuss with each other, discuss with our administrators, where should we be going with this? What would be more meaningful for the young people in our care? And that's happening all throughout the year and all throughout the years.
I heard that you develop your own curricula. You don't use standard curriculum.
No, we have certain skills that we're working towards that will help students with everything they're going to do, but specifically college applications. When they get to college, we get lots of students that come back and tell Carrie especially that the way that he had them work on essays made writing essays for college a lot easier, that we do offer SAT prep classes outside of school. So we are doing the things that we need to do to get the students to where they need to be to succeed, but not in the same way that you might have an evaluation of did this student do X, Y, and Z, but more of from the time this term started until the end of this term, how much did this student improve? What kind of effort did you see from the student? Was the student actively engaging in all of the stuff that we were teaching and going over? Did they push themselves?
I wonder if you talk to the students at the beginning of the day, if they wouldn't say they're glad to get up and come here in the morning, especially after they've had other school experiences where maybe they did not fit in well.
Sure. Indeed, there's a visiting week, a process that all students go through, and during that week you often see students beginning to come out of their shells, and then when a student enrolls because that fit is right, I would say, and we've heard from parents often, that for the first time these students are excited about where they're going in the morning and relaxed.
Now we're with students. We're going to find out if they get out of bed every morning and say, wow, I'm going to school, because that's what we heard happens. Is that true?
Yeah.
You're pretty happy to be here.
Yeah.
What were your experiences in other schools, and how are these schools different? I know that's a big question, but if you could just say a few words and then pass the mic on.
Well, my old school was terrible, and I couldn't do what I wanted to do, and I couldn't take classes that I wanted to take, and there wasn't anybody that was good.
Okay, so you're a freshman.
I am a freshman.
And you've just come from a very different experience.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's just nice to be able to take the classes I want and be with people that appreciate me, that I appreciate.
Good for you. Okay.
So my name's Cece, and I was at classical high school before, and I think a lot of people have heard of that school just being very high demanding, and it's like there's like a lot of students in that school, and you don't necessarily get the attention you need in certain like classes where you need help in something. So in this school you definitely get more help, and like everyone knows your name. Teachers that I don't even have know who I am or like ask me how I'm doing. So like there's a huge difference between the school I was before and this school.
So you're a community.
Yeah,
built
definitely.
Into
Yeah,
a community.
definitely.
Okay.
My name is Yuli, and I was homeschooled before coming to School One, and I think School One gave me the structure that I needed that homeschooling couldn't, while also giving me an individualized education, which allowed me to explore things that I wanted to explore, and an education that I wanted to have.
So it was a good match for you.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, no, I'm very lucky to have come to School One.
Very interesting. But it's more fun to study with other people, isn't it?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, it also gave me a social life, which is good.
Yeah, that's a nice thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm Caitlin, and I'm a sophomore, and before this I was also homeschooled, but before that I was in a public school, which did not go well for me, and it messed a lot with my anxiety and asthma and like all these different problems, and it like flared up. So I took a homeschool break pretty much, and I got really off schedule, and like you, I found it like easier to come back to a place more scheduled, but as well like relaxing from my other issues, so it really helped in that way.
Interesting. So you found that as a student you could learn more here than you could by yourself.
Yes.
My name is Alex, and I came from China, and then I was in a Catholic school in New York, and then I just realized that, well, as art students, I kind of want to go to an environment that is more intimate and also more interested in art, so I came here.
If you could use a couple words just to describe the school and your learning experience, what would you say about learning?
You wake up and you genuinely want to go to class. You actually want to learn, and you want to be able to get the education that you deserve, and you don't hate coming into school.
If you could tell one thing to the school where you were before you came here, What would you say about how they could change education?
Care about your students and care about what they want to do with their lives and care about how they might not have the same interests as the general public and how not everybody learns exactly the same way and how public schools, at least that I know of, and they just need to learn that, and they learn to learn that some kids have to take a different route.
Okay. Do you feel that you have had different ways of learning than maybe other kids do?
So I think all of the way we all learn, like just standing here, we all vary. And the good thing about this place is that it adapts to the way we learn and adapts to our interests and what we want to do. And this place definitely teaches us to like own our education and like want to learn. And that's something that you're going to need for like the rest of your life. So this place, this compared to like the school I was before, I don't think I had that there, and I have that here now. So.
Okay. What would you say to the students who are watching who don't like go to school?
I would say that if you come here, you will definitely actually want to go and want to come here, and you will be taking classes that you are genuinely interested in.
But can you say something about what they could learn where they are? How could they change where they are?
I would say try and focus on something you're interested in and like find something that you really care about and you're really passionate about and just seek that out and be proactive and learn about it yourself.
Okay, no matter what the assignment, do it yourself.
Yes.
Your way.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So what would you say about education and what you've learned here about how people can learn, how different people learn?
I find that it's easier to come here for a lot of people, including myself, because at other schools, like the one I was at before this and before homeschooling, they really made you focus on a path that was the same as everyone else, and they weren't very open to like personalization of like how you learn in your education. And here I feel like if you have an interest, and they'll support your interest, even if they don't know what it is, they'll like make an attempt to help.
I think in general, learning is, I think, the most important thing in your life. It doesn't matter how old you are, you can be 80 years old and you still go to college if you're interested in learning. And I think that if you think, oh, I don't think this is going to be useful like right now, but I think in the future you definitely can adapt from where you learn, and then yeah, I think education is just really important, even though you don't really notice that right away.
Okay, we have to go. I want you to all say just one word that you would tell to anyone about how they can learn. Just kids your age need to hear what you have to say. What would you tell them? Just one or two words.
I think that they should really pay attention to what they need in life and focus on that, even if people that are important and close to you think otherwise. Like keep your own beliefs like empowering you, like keep your path and remember it.
I would say just be open to learning new things always, and just keep your mind open and be accepting to new things.
Embrace yourself and embrace what you need, and get yourself there.
Wow. Do what you like to do, even if nobody else likes it.
Okay, I feel like you guys have learned quite a bit more than whatever the curriculum, whatever the SATs would say. You are wise people. Thank you so much for talking to us. And you've been watching Good News Rhode Island. Thank you for watching. And we know that there's good news in your community, and probably you're helping to make it just like these students will when they get into their communities. Thank you for watching.